So today we will be having a chat about how to prepare for lessons and more specifically, how we like to prepare for lessons. So firstly, I just want to ask you, because I know this can be different from teacher to teacher, how long do you generally like to spend on preparing for, let's just say, one lesson?
All right, so first of all, planning effectively is what makes a great teacher. And I believe that when a teacher does take that time to plan, then they are taking pride in being a teacher. So that's, first of all, is extremely important. At the moment, I usually spend maybe 4 to 5 minutes per lesson planning, but that all depends on how many classes I have and what type of level my student is. If it's a higher level student, I usually spend a bit longer because I want to make sure that I understand the ins and the outs of each lesson. What about yourself?
Yeah, I agree with that completely. For me, it's probably about 8 to 10 minutes I like to spend on a lesson, but this just depends on, the student level. If it's a higher level student, I obviously spend a little more time preparing for my lessons.
Yeah.
And then I would say, knowing the lesson material, like you said, the objective of the lesson. So if I have a good understanding of that, then obviously my prep time is a lot less. And I would also say kind of sourcing resources, if I need to find some new resources for that specific lesson, then obviously my preparation time will be a little bit more. But generally between 8 to 10 minutes, no more than that, just because, I've been doing it for quite a few years now. So I've kind of got like the technique down of how I like to prepare for my lessons.
Yeah. And how long did it take you to plan for your lessons when you first started teaching?
So that's a whole different story. When I first started teaching, it was way longer than I spend now. Preparation for those lessons, those first couple of lessons, and probably the first few months of starting, my teaching career online. I'm not lying, but probably about 20 to 25 minutes per lesson, just because,
Wow.
I was new to it. I didn't really have a good understanding of the online platform I was using. I didn't have any props, ready to go. So I had to kind of research some more materials to add to my lessons or make my props or buy props for that lesson. So there was just no real structure to my preparation at that time, and that's why it took so much longer. How about you?
I must say, I totally agree with you. I was exactly the same. And I think for me as well, I just really wasn't sure what to expect and how in depth I had to go, because you're still new and you're not 100% sure what your specific company is looking for. But yes, like you, I also took about 20 minutes on each class. I'm glad that it's not the same like that anymore, because then I'd be here for hours. Yeah, so like you said, also with the props, when I first started, I wasn't even in my own country. So I actually didn't have any props. So every time I got feedback, I was always told, get some props, get some props. I'm like, it's difficult, So yes, planning, in terms of props and, just making sure that you do understand the whole ins and the outs of every lesson. So yes, it did take me a lot longer initially. Yeah.
Yeah. Same. Like it was crazy. Versus now, it's just such a breeze and so easy to do.
Yeah, that's true.
But mentioning props, so what I've managed to do is build a little bit of a prop library for myself. So I have flashcards and toys and pictures. They're all in like drawers next to me, so they're easily accessible. But where do you go to kind of find new props or activities or even resources to add to your lessons?
All right. So just like you, I also have a lot of props.
Yeah.
Over the years, I've just collected, like if I saw something, even in a magazine,
Mm.
then I would cut it out and keep it. Um, I also found a whole bunch of my old toys. My mom luckily kept most of it. So I have like a lot of, teddy bears and dolls and and what have you. So yes, I do have a lot of toys as well, which always comes in handy, especially with the younger students. What I like to do with my older students, I like to save my pictures that I find online. Just make sure that when you do find pictures that it is copyright free.
Yeah.
So I use Canva a lot with that, and the pictures are amazing. They are so, so nice, and anything that you're looking for, you can find. So basically, every time that I have a picture and I like it, then I just save it, because I know that 10 to 1, I'm going to use that same picture for another class,
Mm-hmm.
or at some point it will come up again.
Yeah.
So it's always best to just save a folder that you can always go back to, instead of wasting time and looking for the same photo the next time around. And also what I have found is that with a company that I teach for, a lot of the teachers have actually made their own resources. So like crosswords or what, connect the dots or something like that. So I like to take those and save them and then just use it whenever, it's necessary in my lessons. And yourself?
Yeah, those are really great ideas. I like the saving the pictures into a folder because I always just end up deleting them, but
Oh
it
no.
makes so much sense to keep them. Um, I use Canva as well for everything. It's
Yeah.
really a great website and it's super teacher friendly. So I like to make my own resources on there and then just download them. Um, Another thing I have been doing recently or in the last year is making my own props. It's kind of like a fun task for me. So I like to make my own flashcards and, just like little pictures that I like to use. So I've made a lot of my own props and it's way more cost effective that way than going to buy props. And, like you, I've also just kind of collected little toys here and there, toys I already had, that kind of thing. So generally, I just make my own props and then obviously use Canva to make my own resources. And that way, you don't have to worry about it being, copyrighted or anything like that. So
True.
that's what I like to do. So lastly, I think it would be really great to just share like 3 top tips for preparing, because it could help, other teachers out there or new teachers that are just starting their online career or even in their physical classroom.
Yeah. All right. So I think firstly, take pride, like I said, Nana, take pride in planning, because it really does make a great teacher if you are willing to go that extra mile and sit at your desk for an extra 5 minutes, just to make sure that your student is going to have fun and learn effectively. So yes, take pride in your planning, because it shows a lot about what type of teacher you are. Also, when you are teaching and planning, make sure that you collect your props and keep them near you, so that when you are in a lesson and you see, okay, my student does not understand what this word is, you can easily just pick it up and show it to your student instead of trying to find it in your study. And then thirdly, always have a backup plan. Things don't always go to plan, as we know, being, teachers, anything can go wrong, whether it's, internet fail or whether your student is just a bit bored or whatever. Always make sure that you have a backup plan. So always try to think of new ways that you can engage your students with different types of props or even songs or even activities or even questions, just to engage them further. And yourself?
Yeah, those are really, really great. So my top 3 would be to gather some props for yourself. Make sure you have that like prop library ready to go, that will really minimize your preparation time because those props are already there and you can just use them or kind of plan them into your lesson. My next one would be to make sure you know the level of your student. This is definitely key to preparing and planning for your lesson, because if you have a lower level student, you need to possibly adapt the materials that you are teaching, and this could, you know, kind of lengthen that preparation time. So if you are aware of that, you already know you need to adapt that material, and that will then save you some time. And then thirdly, I would say what I like to do is keep a record of techniques and activities that have worked really well in my lessons, just so that I can refer back to that and know, you know, okay, that worked really, really well. I'm just going to use it again. So that's just a little bit more of a time saver for myself. And I think it's just a really good idea for teachers to do that, just, you know, so that you don't have to spend that extra time trying to figure out how you're going to go about teaching this lesson.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so those would be my top 3. So if you have any tips on how to prepare for lessons and how to do so effectively, please comment them down below. We'd love to read your tips and tricks you like to use. And please remember to like and subscribe to this channel, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Become a TEFL expert with IQTEFL. Go to our website at www.iqtefl.com to find out more.